I watched the woman I loved choose another man, while I stood 3 feet away, paralyzed by my own cowardice. That moment destroyed me, but it also saved my life. I'm about to tell you about the night I had everything I ever wanted standing right in front of me, and how my own mind became my worst enemy. If you've ever felt like your brain shuts down the moment someone you're attracted to shows interest in you, this story is going to cut you open and show you exactly why you keep sabotaging yourself. It was 11 p.m. on a Friday night, and I was standing in the corner of my friend Mike's apartment, watching the girl of my dreams laugh at something another guy was saying. Sandra. God, even her name made my chest tight. She'd been giving me signals all night. The lingering touches when she handed me a drink. The way she kept finding excuses to stand close to me. The moment she looked directly into my eyes and said, "You know, I've always wondered what you think about when you get that distant look." This was it. This was my moment. But as she stood there, waiting for my response, something horrifying happened. My throat closed up. My palms started sweating. The words I'd rehearsed 1,000 times in my head just vanished. I stammered, feeling my face turn crimson. She waited. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 15. Then I watched her smile fade. I watched her take a step back. I watched her excuse herself to go to the bathroom. And I knew. I'd just blown the best chance I'd ever had. But here's what really destroyed me that night, and why what happened next changed everything. Let me back up and tell you how I got to that moment. Because if you're anything like I was, you need to understand that this wasn't just about Sandra. This was about every single opportunity I'd ever let slip away. My name is Jake, and for 24 years, I'd been living with what I now call the paralysis of perfect moments. It started in high school. Jessica Martinez, beautiful, smart, and for some inexplicable reason, was interested in me. She'd sit next to me in chemistry class, ask for help with problems she clearly already understood, and once even invited me to study at her house when her parents weren't home. Did I make a move? Of course not. Instead, I spent 3 hours explaining molecular bonding while she sat so close I could smell her shampoo, occasionally touching my arm and laughing at jokes that weren't even funny. When she walked me to the door that night, she lingered. She looked up at me with these expectant eyes. "Thanks for helping me study, Jake. You're really special." The words hung in the air like a neon sign. "Kiss me." But my brain went into complete lockdown mode. Yeah, no problem. See you Monday." I literally turned around and walked away. The next week, she was dating Brad Peterson. But the Sandra incident? That was different. That was supposed to be my redemption story. See, I'd spent 6 years after high school working on myself. I'd hit the gym, gotten a better job, even practiced conversations in the mirror. I thought I'd conquered my demons. Sandra worked at the coffee shop near my office. For months, we'd had these incredible conversations. She'd light up when I walked in. She'd remember little details about my life. She even started making my usual order before I asked. "The regular for my favorite customer," she'd say with this smile that made my entire day. My friends kept telling me she was into me. "Dude, she's practically throwing herself at you," Mike would say. "Just ask her out already." So I planned it. Tuesday morning, 9:15 a.m., right after the morning rush. I'd walk in, order my coffee, and when she handed it to me, I'd say, "Hey Sandra, would you like to grab dinner sometime?" Simple, direct, confident. I practiced it 50 times. Tuesday morning came. I walked in. She smiled that radiant smile. The regular for my favorite customer. Our hands touched as she handed me the cup. She held the contact for just a second longer than necessary. This was it. "Hey Sandra." She looked at me expectantly, her eyes bright and hopeful. Thanks for the coffee." I grabbed my change and practically ran out of the shop. The next day, I found out she'd given her number to some guy who'd had the courage to ask for it while I was busy having an internal meltdown. But that night at Mike's party, when I saw her with that other guy, something inside me finally snapped. After I watched Sandra walk away from me at that party, I did what I always did. I went home, poured myself a drink, and sat in my apartment, replaying every humiliating moment. But this time was different. This time, I couldn't just blame bad luck or poor timing. I had to face the truth. I was terrified. Not just of rejection, I was terrified of success. What if she said yes? What if I actually had to follow through? What if I wasn't good enough? What if she discovered that beneath my practiced conversations and carefully constructed confidence, I was still that scared kid who couldn't even ask for extra ketchup at McDonald's without sweating? I started thinking about all the other times. College orientation, when Amy from my dorm spent an entire evening finding reasons to hang out with me. The time my coworker Lisa asked if I wanted to grab drinks sometime, just the two of us. The yoga instructor who kept making eye contact and complimenting my form. Each time, the pattern was the same. Interest, opportunity, paralysis, regret. I was living in a prison of my own making, and the key was right there in my hand. I just couldn't bring myself to use it. But here's what I didn't know then, what I wish someone had told me. There was a reason I kept freezing up, and it wasn't what I thought. 3 weeks after the party, I ran into Sandra at the grocery store. She was alone, no new boyfriend in sight, picking out avocados in the produce section. My heart started pounding. This was fate giving me one more chance. I approached slowly, trying to look casual. "Hey, Sandra." She looked up, surprised. "Oh, hi, Jake." There was something different in her voice. Not cold, exactly, but distant. "How have you been?" I asked. "Good. Busy with work and stuff." An awkward silence stretched between us. I could feel my window of opportunity slamming shut, but I had to try. "Listen, about the other night at Mike's party." "Jake." She interrupted me gently. "You don't have to explain." "No, I do. I wanted to." "You're a really nice guy," she said, and those 4 words hit me like a physical blow. "But I think we're better as friends." Better as friends. The death sentence of every guy who'd ever cared too much about being perfect. "I understand," I said, because what else could I say? As I watched her walk away for the second time, pushing her cart toward the checkout, I realized something devastating. She hadn't rejected the real me. She'd rejected the scared, frozen version of me who couldn't even have a normal conversation when it mattered. And the worst part? I was about to let it happen again. Because there was someone else. Someone who'd been right in front of me for months, and I was already making the same mistakes. Her name was Rachel, and she worked in the marketing department at my company. We'd been assigned to work on a project together, which meant spending a lot of late nights in the office, just the two of us. Rachel was different from Sandra. Where Sandra was bubbly and outgoing, Rachel was thoughtful and intense. She had this way of really listening when you talked, like your words were the most important thing in the world. And she was beautiful in this understated way that crept up on you. The first time I really noticed her, we were working late on a presentation, and she was explaining some marketing concept with such passion that her eyes were literally glowing. "You get it, don't you, Jake?" she'd said. "Most people in our department just go through the motions, but you actually care about the work." The way she looked at me when she said that, it was like she was seeing something in me that I didn't even know existed. We started having lunch together. Then coffee breaks. Then she started texting me after work. Not about business, but real conversations about life, dreams, fears. One night, we were the last ones in the office again. It was past 9 p.m., and we were both exhausted. "I should probably head home," she said, but she didn't move. "Yeah, me too," I replied, also not moving. We were sitting across from each other at the conference table, laptops closed, just talking. The cleaning crew had already come and gone. The building was almost empty. "Jake," she said softly, "can I tell you something?" My heart started racing. "Of course. Working with you these past few months, it's been the best part of my day." The air between us felt electric. She was looking directly at me, her guard completely down. This was it. This was my Sandra moment all over again. Except this time I knew what was at stake. But knowing and doing are 2 very different things. "Rachel, I started, then stopped." She waited, her expression open and vulnerable. "I really enjoy working with you too," I managed. It was the truth, but it wasn't the truth. It wasn't what she needed to hear. It wasn't what I needed to say. I watched something shift in her expression. Not disappointment, exactly, but a kind of protective wall sliding back into place. "Well," she said, gathering her things, "I guess we should both get some rest. Big presentation tomorrow, right?" "Yeah," As she packed up her laptop, I sat there having a full-scale war with myself. Say something. Do something. Don't let her walk away like Sandra did. Don't let this be another story you'll hate yourself for later. But my throat felt like it was closing up. My hands were shaking. All the old fears came flooding back. What if I'm reading this wrong? What if she's just being friendly? What if I make things weird between us? What if I lose the best professional relationship I've ever had? Rachel stood up, laptop bag over her shoulder. See you tomorrow, Jake. See you tomorrow. She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. Jake? For what it's worth, you're one of the good ones. And then she was gone. I sat there in that empty conference room for another hour, staring at the wall and hating myself. Another perfect moment. Another missed opportunity. Another night of wondering what might have been. But this time, something was different. This time I was angry. Not at Rachel. Not at the situation. At myself. And that anger was about to change everything. That night, I went home and did something I'd never done before. I looked at myself, really looked at myself, in the bathroom mirror. What are you so afraid of? I asked my reflection. The answer came immediately. Everything. I was afraid of rejection. Yes, but I was also afraid of acceptance. I was afraid of not being good enough, but also afraid of being too much. I was afraid of being seen as desperate, but also afraid of being seen as disinterested. I was afraid of everything because I'd built my entire identity around being the safe choice. The nice guy? The one who never rocked the boat or made anyone uncomfortable. But being safe had made me invisible. And being invisible was killing me. I thought about all the women who'd shown interest in me over the years. Jessica, Amy, Lisa, the yoga instructor, Sandra, Rachel. What if they'd seen something in me that I couldn't see in myself? What if my problem wasn't that I wasn't good enough, but that I didn't believe I was good enough? The next morning, I made a decision. I was going to talk to Rachel. Really talk to her. Not as colleagues, not as friends, but as a man who was interested in a woman and wasn't afraid to let her know it. I spent my lunch break planning what I would say. No scripts this time. No rehearsed lines. Just honesty. But when I got back to the office, Rachel's desk was empty. She called in sick. Her cubicle neighbor told me. Then Thursday came. Still sick. Friday. The same. Monday morning, I got an email from HR. Rachel had transferred to the Seattle office. Effective immediately. I stared at that email for 10 minutes, reading it over and over, trying to make sense of it. Seattle. 2,000 miles away. Gone. I called her cell phone. Straight to voicemail. Hey, it's Jake. I just heard about your transfer. I was hoping we could talk before you left. Could you call me back? She never did. I tried her work email. No response. It was like she'd vanished from my life completely. That's when Mike told me the truth. Oh man, she didn't get transferred, he said when I ran into him at lunch. She requested it. My blood ran cold. What do you mean she requested it? My girlfriend works in HR. Rachel specifically asked to be moved to another office. Said she needed a change of scenery. The words hit me like a physical blow. She hadn't just left. She'd run away. From me. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I got completely blackout drunk. Not because I wanted to forget, but because I wanted to feel something other than the crushing weight of my own cowardice. When I woke up the next morning, hungover and miserable, I found a text message on my phone that I'd apparently sent to Rachel at 2:47 a.m. I know you're gone and I know why. I'm sorry I'm such a coward. You deserved better than a guy who couldn't even tell you how he felt when it mattered. I hope Seattle makes you happy. The message showed as delivered, but never read. She'd blocked my number. That's when I realized I'd hit rock bottom. And strangely, it was exactly where I needed to be. Losing Rachel was different from losing all the others. With Jessica, Amy, Sandra, I could tell myself it was bad timing or miscommunication. But Rachel? I'd had months with Rachel. She'd made it as clear as possible without literally spelling it out. And I'd still frozen up. I spent the next week in a haze of self-loathing and regret. But on Sunday night, something shifted. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, when I realized something important. I was grieving not just for Rachel, but for all the versions of my life I'd never lived. The version where I kissed Jessica at her front door. The version where I asked Sandra out for coffee, and she said yes. The version where I told Rachel how I felt, and maybe, she stayed. I was grieving for the man I could have been if I hadn't been so terrified of being him. That's when I decided to do something that scared me more than asking out a beautiful woman. I was going to figure out why I kept sabotaging myself. I started reading everything I could about confidence, attraction, psychology. Not pickup artist nonsense, but real research about human behavior and relationships. And I discovered something that changed everything. My problem wasn't that I was too nice. My problem was that I was trying so hard to be perfect that I'd forgotten how to be real. Women weren't rejecting me because I wasn't good enough. They were losing interest because I wasn't being authentic enough. Every interaction I'd had was filtered through this desperate need to be liked, to be accepted, to be safe. But safety is the enemy of attraction. Perfection is the enemy of connection. Rachel didn't transfer to Seattle because I was a bad guy. She transferred because she'd opened herself up to someone who was too afraid to open up back. And that realization led to the most important question I'd ever asked myself. What would happen if I stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to be real? 3 months later, I was at my cousin's wedding when I saw her. Emma, the maid of honor. Stunning in that effortless way that made you forget to breathe. During the reception, she was sitting alone at the bar, looking slightly overwhelmed by all the wedding chaos. The old me would have spent an hour psyching myself up, rehearsing what to say, waiting for the perfect moment that would never come. But I learned something important. Perfect moments don't exist. There are only moments, and what you choose to do with them. So I walked up to her. "Rough night?" I asked, sliding onto the bar stool next to her. She laughed. "Is it that obvious?" "Well, you have that I love my friend, but if one more person asks me when I'm getting married, I might scream look." "Oh God, yes. That's exactly it." She turned toward me, and I could see the relief in her eyes. "I'm Emma, by the way." "Jake. I'm the bride's cousin. The one who lives in Chicago?" "That's me." We talked for an hour. Real conversation. No agenda, no script, no desperate need to impress her. Just two people connecting. And here's what I discovered. When you stop trying so hard to be liked, you become infinitely more likable. When the DJ announced the last dance, Emma was in the middle of telling me about her disastrous attempt at online dating. "Want to dance?" I asked. The old me would have added qualifiers. "I mean, if you want to, or I'm not a great dancer, or we don't have to if you'd rather not." But I learned to ask for what I wanted without apologizing for wanting it. "I'd love to," she said. As we swayed to some slow song I didn't recognize, she looked up at me and said, "You know, you're different from most guys I meet." "Different how?" "You actually listen. And you're not trying to impress me every second." "Trust me," I said. "I've tried the impressing thing. It doesn't work." She laughed. "No, it really doesn't." The song ended, but we didn't stop dancing. "Emma," I said, and this time my voice didn't shake, my palms didn't sweat, my brain didn't shut down. "Yeah, I'd really like to take you out to dinner sometime." She smiled. "I'd really like that too." Emma and I dated for 8 months. It didn't work out in the end. She got a job offer in London that was too good to pass up, but it was real. It was honest. It was everything my relationship with Sandra or Rachel could have been if I'd been brave enough to let it happen. More importantly, it taught me that the thing I'd been most afraid of, rejection, wasn't actually the worst thing that could happen to me. The worst thing that could happen was living my entire life wondering, what if? I started dating with a completely different mindset. Not desperately searching for the one, but genuinely interested in getting to know people. When I met someone I was attracted to, I asked them out. When they said no, I thanked them for their honesty and moved on. When they said yes, I showed up as myself, flaws, fears, and all. And you know what happened? I got rejected a lot, but I also got accepted a lot. And both experiences taught me something valuable. I could survive either outcome. The paralysis was gone. Not because I'd become fearless, but because I'd learned that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it. Last month, I ran into Sandra at a coffee shop downtown. Different coffee shop, the one where we'd first met had closed years ago. "Jake," she said, genuinely happy to see me. "How are you?" "I'm good," I said. "Really good." We chatted for a few minutes, and as our conversation was winding down, she said something that completely floored me. "You know, I always wondered what would have happened if you'd asked me out back then. I had such a crush on you." The old me would have felt devastated, would have spent the rest of the day torturing myself with what-ifs. But I just smiled and said, "We would have had some good times, I think." "Yeah," she said. "I think so too." And that was it. No regret, no anguish, just acceptance of the path not taken. Because here's what I finally understood. Every missed opportunity isn't a tragedy, it's a lesson. Every moment of paralysis isn't a character flaw, it's information about what you need to work on. And every time you choose courage over comfort, authenticity over perfection, truth over safety, you become a little more of the person you were meant to be. If you're watching this and seeing yourself in my story, I want you to know something. You're not hopeless. You're not destined to be alone. You're just scared. And that's okay. Being scared means you care. It means the outcome matters to you. But here's what I wish someone had told me when I was frozen in that corner at Mike's party, watching Sandra walk away. The only way through the fear is through the fear. You can't think your way out of paralysis. You can't plan your way out of rejection anxiety. You can't perfect your way out of being human. You can only act your way out. Start small. Make eye contact with someone attractive. Say hello to the barista. Ask a coworker about their weekend. Build the muscle of genuine human connection without the pressure of romantic outcomes. And when you meet someone who makes your heart race and your palms sweat, remember this. They're just another person. They have fears and insecurities and bad days just like you do. They're not judging every word you say or cataloging every imperfection. They're just hoping to connect with someone real. Be that someone. The woman of your dreams isn't looking for perfection. She's looking for authenticity. She's looking for someone brave enough to be vulnerable, confident enough to be flawed, and honest enough to be himself. That someone can be you. But only if you're willing to step out of the paralysis and into the possibility. Look, I know this is easier said than done. Trust me, I lived in that prison of perfect moments for years. But I also know it's possible to break free because I did it. And if a guy who once ran away from a girl who was literally asking him out can learn to date with confidence, so can you. If you're ready to stop being the friend zone guy and start being the guy she chooses, I've found something that can help. It's called Unlock the Scrambler, and it's the system that finally helped me understand what I was doing wrong, and more importantly, how to fix it. This isn't about changing who you are or becoming some fake alpha male. It's about becoming the most confident, authentic version of yourself. The version that doesn't freeze up when opportunity knocks. The version that can look a beautiful woman in the eye and say exactly what he's thinking without his brain shutting down. How I finally stopped being the friend zone guy. Without changing my personality. With one simple move, you can. Stop losing women that initially liked you because you couldn't play the game. Re-enter the dating scene with confidence at any age. Pass each and every one of women's secret tests. Unlock the Scrambler is the only system that combines eliminating the nice guy behavior ingrained in so many men with the most cutting-edge discoveries of modern psychology. So you can gain the attraction of women, project personal power, and avoid the "let's just be friends" speech for good. The link is in the description below. Your future self will thank you. And if this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. Because there are more confessions coming, and they might just change your life. Until next time, stop waiting for perfect moments. Start creating real ones.